Good afternoon to all of you. I, Professor Dr. Anupam Narula, Deputy Director, Alumni Relations and Professor Marketing on behalf of Amity Fraternity, welcome all esteemed Vice Chancellors, Pro-Vice Chancellors of Amity campuses, all campus heads, advisors, deans, HOIs and HODs, faculty members, students, alumni, and ladies and gentlemen. It is a proud privilege and honor to welcome you to Alumni Interactive Online Amity Global Alumni Forum on the theme Psychological Safety and Emotional Intelligence, the role of business leaders and teams in the time of flux. We feel honored to be a part of this event with Honorable Vice Chancellor of Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, Professor Dr. Balvinder Shukla, who is well-known personality. She is known for her multifaceted insights, humility, and leadership skills. She has been one of the key strategists instrumental in the exponential growth of Amity higher education. Her keen areas of interest lie in promoting entrepreneurship, CSR, quality assurance, industry academic collaborations, etc. We welcome you, ma'am, to this interactive global alumni forum. We welcome Professor Dr. Chandradeep Tandon, Dean Faculty of Biosciences and Biotechnology, Director, Amity Institute of Biotechnology, Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, and Professor Dr. Sanjeev Bansal, Dean Faculty of Management Studies and Director, Amity Business School, Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, as moderators of this forum, along with Vice Chancellor. We welcome you, sir, to this interactive global alumni forum. We feel pleased to welcome today 4 distinguished alumni of Amity from varied sectors of businesses who have graciously accepted our invitation to share their valuable insights, experiences on the above topic to motivate the young budding professionals, researchers, faculty members, and other industry participants. We are very pleased to welcome Mr. Madhav Dasmana, Ms. Priya Sani, Mr. Tanmeet Singh Gulati, and Mr. Lalit Sharma on this interactive alumni global alumni forum. We welcome all 4 of you. A business leader is a dealer in hope, and the teams are with him to achieve T for tasks, E for energy, A for achieving aim, and M for members working along with him for organizational and individual growth. So without any further delay, I request Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. Balvinder Shukla to kindly take over for discussion with distinguished panelists. Over to you, ma'am.
Deans, heads of institutions, faculty members, are very esteemed alumni, panelists, students, and all the other participants. First of all, I extend very warm welcome to all esteemed panelists as well as attendees to this interactive online Amity Global Alumni Forum on the theme Psychological Safety and Emotional Intelligence, the role of business leaders and teams in the times of flux. Due to the COVID pandemic, we all know that the people across the globe are living through a period of extraordinary uncertainty about the physical safety, the economic security, the daily conditions in which the organization or we are operating for the last 6 months, and we do not know how long further this situation will continue, maybe for another 6 months or 12 months or 18 months, we do not know. The COVID pandemic has has impacted huge various sectors, and some sectors have been impacted very adversely. Some are at the moderate level, and some have not been impacted. Rather, they have been impacted positively. For example, if you take the logistics sector, that all of a sudden, because of the e-commerce, the growth has been in the logistics sector, and so therefore, as the e-commerce will be growing, so will be the logistics sector will be growing. The telecom sector has also seen the growth. Cybersecurity vertical, when you look at, they also have been the growth. So the digital platforms are being immensely used because that has been the only way of connecting with the employees, connecting with the customers, connecting with the vendors. So that have been the one connect which has kept that has been the one platform which has connected people across the globe, across the organizations, and across the societies. In such a scenario, the leaders are also, so this all that has resulted into an undercurrent of emotional disturbance characterized by high rise in the level of anxiety, depression, fear, stress, and insecurity also in various people. And leaders are also confronting these challenges on an individual level as well as the organization level. They are also responsible for one side supporting the wide cross section of the people, whether they are their customers, whether they are employees or their suppliers, all of whom who have their own range of experiences or emotions or resources for responding to the COVID situations, and many who are paying a psychological toll that is still poorly understood by many organizations. So therefore, this webinar was extremely important. So to gain these insight into the what organizations are faced with and how the leaders are responding, we have invited our very distinguished alumni who have the leadership role to manage and steer the organizations, so that they can help how to creating that psychological safety in the workplace for learning, innovation, and growth, and so that how the emotionally intelligent leadership can play very important role and make the organization more agile and built in the resilience, and where the people are also very emotionally and psychologically strong by helping the people to manage this change, and maybe through the coaching or coaching with the compassion for the uh, building that lifelong learning in the employees, while balancing the family side as well the work life while working from home, because all the organization have not yet started working fully from their offices. Still the employees are working from home. So in this scenario, uh, how the what could be the proven approaches to leading those the unprecedented changes which are coming due to the COVID pandemic, and what is going to be the new normal. So it's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed alumni panelists. I will start with Mr. Madhav Dasmana, who is the Director of Business Transformation, Philips in Amsterdam, Netherlands, who is an alumni of BTech Biotechnology class of 2008. Madhav is a versatile and commercial business transformation director with 11 years of experiences spanning India, the Netherlands, USA, and Australia. Currently, he leads the multiple strategic transformation programs, including establishing new commercial teams, digital sales transformation portfolio pruning, and business-specific turnaround to transform Philips from a diversified product company to a healthcare solution company. Previously, Madhav has held sales and management consulting role in the healthcare industry and has managed two business lines for a startup with a revenue of 12 million euro across 5 South Asian countries. His experience in leading international teams, delivering commercial turnarounds, and program management helped him transform organization to embrace new business models or commercial opportunities with a can-do mindset. Some of his areas of expertise are program and project management, digital and sales transformation, sales and new business development, international team leadership, and strategic planning. Very warm welcome, Madhav, to your Amity University. It's my pleasure to welcome Priya Sani, who is the Vice President Barclays, London. Priya is also the alumnus of BTech Biotechnology, class of 2007, senior to Madhav. Priya has been in international leadership roles since many years. She has rich experience in important domains like healthcare, utility, and banking. She has worked across the globe and possesses excellent understanding of credit risk management. She has an expertise in SAS and advanced SAS, SQL logistic modeling, forecasting, and various statistical techniques, basic VBA. Priya has an expertise in various phases of credit risk management like acquisition, collection, high risk management, and others, and have diverse understanding of risk management. Her current field of expertise are leadership and strategic planning in multiple projects spanning across global teams, consumer and corporate portfolio management, interpersonal skills, stakeholder management, and project and team management. Very warm welcome, Priya, to this panel of Amity University. It's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Tanmeet Gulati, a global segment leader, residential, commercial, DuPont Water Solutions, DuPont Singapore, senior most alumni in this group from the Amity Business School's class of PGDM class of 2002. Tanmeet is global segment lead, driving DuPont Water Solution businesses in for residential commercial drinking water segment globally. DuPont Water Solution is the global water technology leader with a portfolio of leading technologies, reverse osmosis, ion exchange, resin, and ultrafiltration to solve water challenges for industrial, residential, and wastewater. Tanmeet has 18 years of diverse industrial experience in strategic planning, sales and marketing, business development, and key account management. Tanmeet has 10 years of experience in water industry while managing business across APEC, holding many diverse roles in increasing responsibilities in sales, marketing, and business development. He has lived in Singapore now and India. He is an engineering graduate and holds the MBA in marketing and finance. Very warm welcome, Tanmeet, to Amity. We have our youngest alumni in this group, Mr. Lalit Sharma. It's my pleasure to welcome you, Lalit. Lalit is a Global Innovation Manager, Foods and Nutraceuticals, Omea International, Greater Zurich, Switzerland. Lalit is a BTech Biotechnology alumnus, class of 2009. Lalit is driven by the efficiency and cross-functional strength of solving problems. He has worked in 10 plus countries and have extensive experience in demonstrated and with demonstrated caliber in small businesses and world's leading FMCG companies. Lalit is an expert in enabling food and nutraceutical innovations in collaboration with global food multinational customers in EMEA, APEC, and America. His area of expertise are managing innovation portfolio with the idea creation and evaluation, developing new business opportunity through new functionalities and new product development, joint innovation with the customers, product management, product marketing, and launch management, product cycle map, value proposition, market analytics, and he also brings with him expertise of third-party collaboration, merger and acquisitions. A very warm welcome, Lalit, to today's webinar at Amity University. The flow of the program, we will be first the general views of the panelists on the theme psychological safety and emotional intelligence, the role of business leaders and teams in the time of flux. Thereafter, we will be asking the specific question to each panelist, followed by then again we will have the general questions and the questions from the audience. And finally, the session will be summed up. I have got my co-moderators with me, Dr. Chandradeep Tandon and Dr. Sanjeev Bansal, who will also be moderating the session. So first of all, I would request our panelist, Mr. Tanmeet Gulati. May I request you to give your general views on the on the today's webinar theme, the psychological safety and emotional intelligence, role of business leaders and teams in the times of flux. Over to you, Tanveer.
Sure, ma'am. Right. So in today's time, right, of pandemic, where everybody's talking about physical safety, which everybody's talking about social distancing, right? This is very imperative from this pandemic, which transfer from one person to the other when comes in a close contact. But as this time has been prolonged, right? Almost we are into this from almost 9 months, and most of the organizations are working from home, or some of the people have been asked to to take forced leaves, or they have been put under redundancy, or some of the people are thinking that they may be getting redundant. So there has been a psychological impact, right? And that's where the psychological safety is coming up, right? Where people are feeling more anxious and uncertain during the times, right? And as well as that connect which people have when they go to office on regular basis with their colleagues is missing. So that social dynamics is also getting reduced, and everything is gone online and digital, where people are not feeling very safe in this environment. And that's where the psychological safety comes into picture, and it is coming into the discussion. So as a leader, right, you are also a human being, so you are also prone to such challenges. So the first thing is that how, as a leader, you make yourself to be fit, psychologically fit, not only physically fit but psychologically fit, so that your shoulders are not drooping at this challenging time. If your shoulders are drooping, then automatically it will be easily observed by your people that you are not communicating very well. There are some challenges in your tone while you are discussing over call. You may be irritated. So it is very important for an individual as a leader to be away from such things, and try to make yourself psychologically safe, right? And keep yourself in an up mood, so that you are not contagiously transferring these kind of anxiousness or uncertainty in your team members. And then secondly thing is that how you increase the engagement with your team, right, on regular basis, like what Amity is doing, having webinars for their students, so that the students are engaged and they have the continuous learning. So such kind of engagements should also be continued in the organizations as well. And also you can educate your employees that how about you spend time in learning, right? More things. Try to sharpen your saw when you have got this time frame. Even think about your health also by doing exercise which you may not be able to do during the time when you have to go long distances to your offices, and you are on road for 2 hours to reach your office or coming back. So you don't have enough time, but you get time because you're working from home. So indulge in such activities so your mood is upkeep. So that's where this is very important, both as a leader as well as leaders' importance to their employees, that how he or she educates people under him, as well as keep himself or herself up mood, so that psychologically they are strong, and it is not impacting the mindset of each other. That's what I could say.
You have said that social distancing has really impacted quite adversely. People are still working from home. In your case, that more than almost 9 months. So which has also led to some in cases of forced leave, or which resulted into uncertainties. Social dynamics has reduced, people not feeling safe. This is where the role of leader becomes very, very important. But the leader also faces the same thing. So how the leader can make oneself psychologically strong, safe, and keep up the mood, and how continuously engages the employees, engages in the learning, in the well-being, indulges in the health activities. So the mood is always upbeat,
Right.
and the psychological depression does not come. neither to the leader or not to the employees and not to the vendors. So thank you very much for your input. So may I now request Priya to give her inputs.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So psychological safety is really, really important to me, and I think to everyone. And I've realized more and more. Luckily, I was telling Sanjeev sir earlier as well, I was reading this book before this topic came along. It's a very, very good book called Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. I'm highly recommend it. So it says that our understanding of human brain, human intelligence is very narrow at this point. We only think that IQ is very important and we define human intelligence directly by IQ. But in reality, your emotions play a very, very huge role and higher how we make decisions, how we interact, how we do our day-to-day jobs. It's really, really important to have that psychological frame of mind, because nowadays you think people are talking about meditation, yoga, inner peace. A lot of new things are coming along, especially because we are all in a very, very fast-paced world. Events are happening beyond our imagination, and we are like robots doing one thing after the other, which is like you need to sit back and do a feedback and self-analysis of yourself as well. What are you doing? What are your goals? And so forth. So psychological safety is like what we feel at our home with our parents, because we can be what we are with them. We can accept our faults. We feel motivated, we feel loved, and we perform better in a relationship with them. So accordingly, as a leader, it's very important for us to create that kind of an environment where you can be your own self. You are not you're not blaming others. You can accept your faults and again learn from it and perform better. So that's what I'll define as psychological safety. And then when we talk about emotional intelligence, it's how our emotions supersede our intelligence sometimes, right? So whenever we are anxious, whenever we are angry, we don't think, we just react. So those are mainly emotions, right? So it's very important to respond, then react, because most of the time we are reacting and we are not even listening to other. So I think the most important skill to learn and adapt, whether you are in a class, whether you're in a team meeting, whether you're talking to someone, your friends or any relation, you need to learn and listen, because everybody is just putting their views, not thinking what other person is currently going through. So emotional intelligence plays a huge role currently in the global environment as well, where people are from diverse culture, diverse upbringing, understanding of life. So you need to be very open, and you need to understand what other person is saying and what they intend to say that. So emotional intelligence is really, really key in how you succeed, because 89% statistically they say that you take all your decisions from emotions, not from your mind. So it's really, really important that we focus on these two skills and work towards it. So yeah, as a team leader, I think it's really important, and especially as Tanmeet also mentioned during this time, it's really, really important to be connected in some or the other form, because we don't have human to human interactions, and human are not born to live alone. So therefore, it's very, very important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Priya. You have said that emotional play a very important role in decision making and interaction with others. Hence, psychology play important role. The time is to introspect yourself, that how you feel at home or with the family and all. So emotional intelligence is very, very important. And I'm glad that you were reading that book, because I read that book long time back.
Yeah.
And but it's good that you have reminded me, and I will go through that book, because it's a very good book and one should read not only once but multiple times. And I recommend to all the audience also they should read this book. So emotional intelligence is important to handle the diversity, especially when they're working from home, on the digital platform. This also, helps in, a person to, the whether to react or respond is more important is to respond instead of reacting, and that's what you have said. And also the learn to adapt in the new environment and the new situations, rather than blaming the circumstances, pandemic, and all situations were important to how you adapt to the new change. And also because the communication, when we talk, the communication is not only speaking. Communication is very important. Component of communication is the listening. So learn to listen, and because then only you can see the other perspective and respond more responsibly, more appropriately, and be with yourself. So thank you very much, for your very valuable inputs. Now may I request uh, Madhav Dasmana for your views on the theme. Over to
Yeah,
you,
thank
Madhav.
you, ma'am, also for the nice warm welcome and for this initiative. I think psychological safety, the very first thing about psychological safety is if you start to look at let's say the Maslow's need of hierarchy, pyramid of hierarchy of needs, you start to see that basic things like food, shelter are critical, right, for us. But at the same time, what you see is psychological safety is also at the same pedestal. So it's a basic need for every single human being. And I think in today's times of pandemic, we start to talk about this a lot more, which is, I think, a good wake-up call for many of us. If I look at my own work week, I'm spending about 50 to 60 hours in my work for work every week, which means that actually I'm spending a lot more time with my colleagues than I am with my wife and son, which is a shame at one hand. But on the other hand, it also tells me that if a basic need of my psychological safety is not met at work, how much damage it can do to me today, tomorrow, and in the years to come. So I think it becomes almost like a hygiene. And for managers and for leaders, I think this is one thing that generally is not measured. I mean, if I'm a manager, I generally don't measure psychological safety, nor am I ever measured upon it. So a lot of people start to take this for granted, which I think is not a really good practice. And I think it's almost like a psychological safety barometer you need to keep for your team and for yourself to make sure everybody is feeling safe and open in their workplace to perform the best, but also to have a good time. So I think that's, at least from a psychological safety perspective, these are some thoughts that I wanted to share. And as far as emotional intelligence is concerned, also, I mean, what you see over a period of time in your career, the more senior you get, the less task oriented your work becomes. And the more you need to start using your emotional intelligence to make decisions, but also to interpret what's going on. Like around me, what happens sometimes is there's like 6-7 people across the table, and each one is from a different country. So there's a lot of things that are unsaid. In fact, there is more things that are unsaid than are said. And you need to sort of interpret that to sort of form your bonds, but also to take decisions. So it becomes more and more important that one stops, like Priya said, evolves oneself also more towards emotional intelligence and developing emotional intelligence than simply focusing on the brain and IQ. So those are some of my views, and I look forward to continuing this discussion.
Thank you very much, Madhav. Your very valuable input, that psychological needs, that if we go by the Maslow's theory, the basic needs and the psychological safety is the basic need, is the hygiene factor. And if the basic need of psychological safety is not met in the workplace, it can cause a lot of damage. So then you cannot have even, the person cannot have even the happiness at the family level. So therefore, it's very important. So therefore, psychological safety barometer must be kept on, where the people one side be productive, but at the same time feel safe to give their 100%. So in today's time, especially the pandemic time, the emotional intelligence becomes very important to manage the diversity, to manage the people from the, especially when the people are from the different cultures, different countries, while while having the decision making, considering the all aspects and the the people's emotions, taking the business decision is becomes very, very important. So the EI has become more, EQ has become more important than the IQ in today's scenario, because how psychologically you are dealing with the situations, and so that you keep making the people psychological safe and productive for the growth of the business. So thank you very much, Madhav, for your valuable inputs. Now we move to our next panelist, Mr. Lalit Sharma. So over to you, Ms. Sharma, for your general inputs on the theme.
Thanks a lot, ma'am, and thanks everybody. What I think that the psychological safety we can achieve only when we really have emotional intelligence in the team, like in my current job now, what I'm seeing, I'm handling with people from almost more than 20 countries, and really to ensure their psychological safety, I really need to feel their emotions, and one solution, it's really not fitting, and it's becoming more and more visible in this stressful time, that the solution which works from somebody grown up in a Northern Europe, it's really counterproductive when I'm using the same tool with somebody grown up in the Southern Europe, and Europe, it's still a relatively small continent. Let's say when we transfer this for our Asian context, it's the difference becomes even more dramatic. So I see from my daily experience, and also experience moving the organization in this pandemic time, that to ensure the business people safety will be achieved by psychological safety, and which we really can do by feeling people, talking to them, connecting them, and just giving them place to express. And I think I will keep my answer short and precise.
Yes. So very good that you, in a very precise manner, Lalit, you have explained that people safety can be achieved only by the psychological safety. If that's taken while you are interacting and dealing and taking the business decisions. So because that's what at the end matters. So thank you very much for your inputs. Now we can move to the specific questions to each panelist. My question first is to Mr. Madhav Dasmana. The two questions which addressed to you, the Madhav, is what is the role of leaders in fostering workplace climate that are conducive to enhance business effectiveness during the pandemic? And my second question to you is, how is your company better prepared and equipped than others to do this? Over to you, Madhav.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So I'll start by saying, I think this is a very interesting time to be a manager and leader in an organization. I think what you see is it's a pandemic, right? So this has, in our working life, at least not in mine, I have not had any precedence of leading teams in such a situation. And what I'm starting to notice is that it can be used also as a really good opportunity. First of all, to get up close and much more personal with your team, because in a time like this, it's almost unimaginable to not know of personal situations of people. So I think one thing that I feel leaders can do is really get more up close and personal around prioritizing personal issues and situations of people over just business objectives. And I think that by itself is a really good avenue and mechanism for you to form a deeper connection with your own team. So in case of my team, I think there was a point in time when in the Netherlands, there was a sort of lockdown and the daycares were closed. And basically observing who is working when, and we just tried to block each other's agendas on when we can block common working time without actually worrying about who is working for how many hours or where, etc. So I think from that perspective, it's brought at least my team a lot closer to each other. The other thing I think also is this is a great time to sort of pause and reflect. I think because the business situation around all of us has changed, some more positively than the others, it's also a really good time to see, are we doing things the right way? Can we do them faster, more effective? Let's say this whole wave of digital transformation is kicking in, because companies are realizing that actually they can do things differently. They don't need to travel as much. They can still get the work done in a different way. So it's a really good time also to pause and reflect. And I think a role of leaders here also is to sort of foster this mindset in their teams, but also almost, you can also be very tactical about it in terms of blocking some creativity time for your team members, etc. I think that's the other thing I will say around this time. And third thing is, I think, professional objectives will change, and I think leaders should be very open to having discussions with their team members around a change in their professional objectives as a result of the pandemic. And I think because the pandemic situation is very it's constantly changing, it's very important, let's say, for leaders to provide the space and opportunity to their team members to also revisit their professional objectives for the year on a more dynamic basis, such that they are still relevant, and employees and team members can still work towards objectives that are achievable but also realistic. Yeah, so that's a few let's say reflection points from my side on your first question. And on the other question, I think that's more around how is my company sort of better positioned. So I mean, first of all, I work with Philips, so it's one of the largest suppliers of medical equipment in the world, and it still is one of the largest ventilator suppliers in the world. So, I mean, there is a lot of our colleagues who are on the front line, which is giving, first of all, a great sense of motivation and purpose to all the others who are also not on the front line, to say, actually, we're serving a very good cause. So our employee engagement levels have gone up dramatically, and it's anyhow a good sector to be in at this moment in time. From a dealing with pandemic perspective and from a psychological safety perspective, there are a few things that we have done. One thing around this performance objective. So we are, let's say, reviewing performance objectives more frequently this year on a quarterly basis and revising where they need to be. So I think we have a good match between what the employees need to do and whether they are set up for success. The other thing is that we have mobilized a network of health coaches, physical health coaches, but also counselors that any employee can actually make an appointment with and discuss their psychological issues, but also in some cases physiological issues in this time of pandemic, which I think is quite a differentiating offering towards employees, but also a very meaningful one in this time. So I think these are some of the things that are happening in my organization, which make me believe that it's quite well prepared for the time being to deal with the situation. And I think looking at the employee engagement results that we measure also on a quarterly basis, I think that approach is working quite well for us.
Very thank you, Madhav, that you have given very to the point response that where you said this is the unique situation to lead the team during the pandemic. This also brought close to the people and personal at personal level also to develop the deeper connections for the organization. Business situation has changed, and this is the time to pause and think that can we do the things differently to achieve the business results. Also, that you said that for employees to keep the some time for the creativity, provide the space to revisit the professional objectives, which are more realistic and achievable. Philips, as being the largest supplier of the medical equipments and the ventilators, as though it's a good time so that your people are at the field. So the strategy which you have adopted, the reviewing the performance objective quarterly, and you find that the people are doing quite well and have also provided the services to the employees of the health coaches and counselors, so that the way the people can discuss their psychological issues and all those things. So the great. Thank you very much, Madhav. Now my question is to our next panelist, Ms. Priya Sani. That my question to you, Priya, is how psychological safety is the enabler to improve team performance in your organization. And second question is, extraordinary times call for visionary leadership. Whether your organization is committed to supporting your ways through these demanding times. Over to you, Priya.
Thank you, ma'am. So I'll start with the first one. The psychological safety is an enabler to team performance. I fully agree with this statement. It definitely is, because I work for Barclays, which has office across world and a lot of different, and it's a huge company. So you have more human to human interaction and with lots of different teams working sometimes in silo. You need to bring them together and understand what the requirements are, right? So it's very challenging sometimes. So if you are not, if you're not a part of team and you don't feel psychologically safe, or you cannot be your own self in the team, then it becomes difficult. And then you come up with conflicts, blames, and not taking feedbacks positively. So I think key things for me is you need to approach a conflict as a collaborator rather than a competitor. So whenever you're having a conflict, you need to think how we can collaborate with that person and bring him along in our team rather than having a discussion which would raise voices and go in next level. That's one. Second is, I think, human to human interaction, which is very important to me. And someone gave me a very nice advice in my early careers over here, because I had a presentation to an MD and I was quite nervous and I was quite junior earlier. I was like, oh, how I'm going to do this? He's very senior. So the guy who was my manager, he told me that he's just a human. Don't think anything. If he's a president, if he's an MD, whatever, they are just human beings. So you need to just understand whenever you're talking to a human how you behave, and that's very important. Don't think about what level they are. You definitely need to think what you speak at what level. So that's a different skill. But definitely don't get anxious or apprehensive because it's very senior stakeholder. They all are human beings. And if we understand the basic concept of human to human interaction, it really helps. And the third very important thing is anticipate reactions, right? Whenever you go for a meeting, you know that there's one person who's going to do something or going to ask something. So you need to anticipate their reaction and plan for your moves ahead so you're well prepared in your brain. The most important for me is replace blame with curiosity. So instead of blaming anyone, you need to be curious and understanding why it has happened, why it has not happened. So it's very important to replace that part. And feedback. So feedback is very, very important. So if you're psychologically safe, you'll take the feedback positively in a team, in a class, or anywhere. So that all brings it together, a safety net around you, and you are open to accept your feedback. So I always say to all my team members, whenever you work, you do mistake. A person who is not doing any mistake, I think he's not working. So it's very important. The more you work, you're bound to have the most important thing is what you learn from a mistake and you don't repeat it. So that's the key thing. So that's the answer to the first question. And then the second one, where we are saying extraordinary times. I think these are extraordinary times in generations. If you talk to grandparents, parents, no one has seen such times. So, and we are in a position where we can help others as a leader within the team. And it's very, very important. And I must say that Barclays is paying a lot of attention, and we have regular surveys on how you're feeling, why you are not feeling like this. And very, very funny observation from the survey, where I'm not bringing gender agenda, but that was an observation from the survey, where 60% of women are happy that they're able to manage their time working from home and other priorities like kids, house, etc. Where 40% of men are dissatisfied working from home because they are not at all used to sitting at home and working. So those are the challenges. So when you think, you will never think from these perspectives, like whether you're men, you're female, you'll have different things going on in your mind. And I think, as it is said and accepted, no offense to anyone, but women can do multitasking a lot. We have been doing it since ages better, but men constantly focus on one thing and finish one thing and then jump on another. That's the wiring which exists in the brain. And also, it's very important to understand how we are feeling having more video calls like, ma'am, you have done this. And it's a great opportunity to be in touch with so many people after more than a decade now. So again, it helps to understand what people's needs, student needs, or even the team members' needs. So I usually have my VC calls with the team, and one call is like just talking, not about work, but about themselves. How are they feeling? What's going in their life, family? Just trying to understand, because the most important thing, as Madhav as well said, that this time is very challenging, but you need to develop opportunity as well. It has bring me at least closer to my team. I know who has kids, how many people do they live in, how are they feeling, what's going in their life, and also it gives them comfort to give me feedback and tell me that this is not right, Priya. Let's do it the other way, because now they are at that comfort level where a equation exists where people can talk, and that's really important because some people don't talk, and to understand those people is the most difficult task. So it is definitely extraordinary time, but I'll still say there's always an opportunity to develop and always learn something new. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Priya, that to your response that this is a time when to collaborate, understanding basic concept of human interaction, anticipate the reaction, learn to accept the feedback, and especially during the extraordinary times, learn to help others. Your organization has been conducting the regular survey, which has revealed the many things. For example, the women are happy. Majority of the women are happy, but they are able to manage the home and also contribute to the organization objectives. Whereas the men are not that happy. They are dissatisfied because their social outlook approach is different, and they have not remained confined into the four walls of the house. Building this greater interaction is the time need of the hour. So, not necessarily always the interaction related to business, but to understand the people, their issues, their problem, and how to build a greater community of helping and caring. Because the moment the people, employees feel that they are being cared by the organization, their commitment enhances manifold. So thank you very much for your inputs. What the great work you are doing, and your organization is taking care of the people. So now I move to our next panelist, Tanmeet, and I will request Dr. Tandon, our moderator, to take over and move to the next panelist.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And at the outset again, welcome all the panelists. Philip Kotler had given 4 P's. Am I audible, ma'am, to all?
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. Philip Kotler gave 4 P's of marketing to all, but I guess the most important P, which encompasses all the sectors, whether it's health sector, life sciences sector, accounts, you name it, is psychology. The most important P I still believe is psychology, which runs across all the fields and all the P's and is mother of all P's, I would say. So with this, Tanmeet, very well said. You work in the field of water purification, where reverse osmosis and ion exchange do play a very important role, which we have been teaching all the students, all the biotechnology students, and also life sciences students. With this, I have 2 questions for you, Tanmeet. First is, as a global leader and innovator in water treatment, how do you harness the commitment to excellence for employees and teams during the time of flux? This is the first question. And the second question is, can you enlighten us on the collaborative approach of your organization that places customer challenges at the heart of your innovation? Over to you, Mr. Tanvi.
Sure, Dr. Turner, thanks for your questions. So the first question is basically how to harness the full abilities of the employees in the time of flux. You rightly said the psychology is something which is very important, whether you're dealing with your employees, whether you are dealing with yourself, with your family, and even with your customers, right? It's a very important thing. And somewhere if you are psychologically impacted, right, individually yourself as well as your employees, you cannot be fully operational, right? And you cannot devote yourself to your work or even to your family. So the technique which I have utilized over the 9 months is to be compassionate with the people, right? So when I say compassionate with the people is basically saying that how I can understand or how I can service and benefit these employees in this time of flux, try to understand what they are feeling right now, and also balancing this with focusing them on the task, right? So some of the techniques which I utilized right during this time is creating the engagement, right? Like having a Friday sessions, evening session, networking sessions, video calls with the team members, right? Having some fun games during those sessions, and also very important, sometimes people are not comfortable to share their feelings in a group call, right? When you ask them that how you are feeling. So it is also important for you to connect with them individually, right? And ask them. And in such situation, I think so, or what I have done is that I have not shied away asking them, is anything bothering you? Right? Because sometimes people don't share their psychological barriers, right, to their supervisors, right? It's in their inherent nature to not to talk about what mentally happening to them. Mostly they will focus on work. So in those calls, some things comes up. Like for example, one of the employee was do not have enough space at home, do not have a good chair to work on. Economically, they were getting impacted. So that's where if I would not had individual call with them, I would not have understood. So it helped me to provide them or give them the opportunity to take the chair from their office to back to their home, because they have to work from home for 6 months or 7 months, and arrange those facilities from the facility management to deliver the chair back home, right? So such kind of things is very, very important, right? You can run contest, right, to generate ideas that how we should operate in this new normal conditions, or how the world would be in future. And you run a contest, people share their ideas, they feel engaged that they're working. The another part is that making them feel, and even yourself, that it is very important to understand what is in your control and what is it is out of your control, what you cannot control, right? So if you are worried more on the things which are not in your control, that is also not good for you. So if you can educate your employees, if they are worried about such things, right, it also helps make them focus on things what they can control. The other part is that most of the time in organization we are focused on quarterly results, right? It's mostly on the results part, that how much number we are doing and how much revenues we are generating, what is the top line and bottom line, but seldom we focus on efforts. But in during this time of flux, it is very important to also acknowledge the efforts people are putting. Like for example, where India is completely under lockdown, right? So they may not be able to perform similarly to the areas where are not under the lockdown. So in such scenarios, how you are acknowledging the team members' efforts while they are putting to drive business in those geographies where the complete lockdowns are, right? Understanding those things and acknowledging is very, very important. And the last thing is that make them work towards the positive things, right? Guide them, do not focus on negative news. In today's world where there's social media, you have a mobile phone in your hand, you can always get linked to all these negative news floating around, right? So you can guide them that how you yourself have been in the positive state of mind. For example, I share that I have completely shut down the notification of the news channels coming on my mobile, right? Every day morning, the notification floats that these many cases are happening, or every day these deaths are happening. So if you remove those notifications, you are keeping your mind to on a relaxed phase. Those kind of techniques, if you can educate your employees, will definitely help to keep their up mood. And that's how I have been able to manage in the last 8-9 months to keep this excellence going on.
Thanks a lot, Tanmeet, for your point of view and your views. I fully agree with you. This positive attitude is very important for us to keep ourselves in upbeat mood. So coming to Lalit. Lalit, you have been working in a very important sector, foods and nutraceuticals. And this period of lockdown, people, besides honing their skills, ICT tools, people are also trying to hone their cooking skills, and also are focusing on various nutraceuticals and the functional foods to boost up their immune system. So having said that, the two questions for you are, Lalit, has pandemic been a boon or a bane for foods and nutraceutical market in the world? And the second question is, how is psychological safety and EI, that is emotional intelligence, achieved with a diverse workforce at OMIA International? Over to you, Mr. Lalit.
Thank you. So really starting from the first question, for food and nutraceutical, this year we saw it really as a golden year in a decade. So in general, the market is growing like rocks, 20% year to year. Okay, when we really drill down into the different sections, we see that bakery, for example, which is quite heavily depending upon the shops or the local bakeries, that's going down. But on the other hand, we see that the vitamin and mineral section and the probiotics, it's really growing by 50% compared to last year. So it also showing that the market is really not saturated yet. What we saw from 2017 to 2019, there's still a lot of potential. And then as an innovation manager, seeing these changes now, it's really important how we're gonna keep this sustained for the longer period of time. And it's also amazing time for as an innovation manager, that the companies, the customers, they are really ready to experiment. So let's say for example, normally the oral doses form for the calcium or the mineral delivery, it's normally we take a tablet, or we used to take a tablet from last 50 years. Our grandparents took the tablets, then our parents took the tablets, we are taking the tablets. But now in this crisis mode, we see that other forms are really getting accepted and going into the market. So that's more the market view, what we see at a macro level in food and nutraceuticals.
Yeah,
And then coming back, sorry.
Please continue. Please continue.
So now coming back to the next question, regarding this psychological safety and emotional intelligence. So let's say at the organizational level, what happened that normally in our organization is meetings is bi-weekly. Then in pandemic, we really converted it into the daily call of even a 30 minutes or 40 minutes, but really daily calls, and most of the calls are non-business. So that was done at my team. So we decided we're not going to talk about the business in this 30-minute call, and really to understand what's going on, to observe. If with video, some people don't like with video, then really try to listen actively. Like is one of my employees, is his tone or her tone is really a bit different today, then maybe really try to approach on an individual basis to understand like what are the problems my team is facing, or is there something which I can accommodate and help. So I will just give like one example from my last 9 months. So one of the strategic project was due to launch this year in July, and in pandemic everything was in standstill. And I think emotional intelligence, it's a very nice word, but in the end we really need to drill it down to the how we're going to execute it. So in my experience of 9 months now working in this crisis, 2 skills I found it really the most important. One is the active listening, and second, really give the place for your employees just to make mistakes, and then just trust your employees, trust your team. They do everything. So
That's right, Lalit.
That's a nutshell from my side.
Thank you so much, Lalit. You know, the best part of this particular webinar is, which has been, conceived by our Vice Chancellor, ma'am, that we all of us get such a positive feeling talking to all of you. In fact, it's a psychological booster for all of us. I guess my colleagues will also agree with me. Looking at our alumni doing so well and looking at their body language, which is so positive, we derive lots of energy from it. Thanks. Over to you, ma'am. Vice Chancellor, ma'am.
There are no questions, ma'am, actually. So if you anybody if you wants to give any questions, so the house is open. We can see your questions. Yeah, so there is one question from a very senior faculty for all the panelists. EQ is equally important as IQ. It is pertinent for a stable human being to have a high EQ and empathy. It is certain that community high on EQ will bounce back to normalcy faster in this time pandemic, ensuring safety and well-being of its countrymen. This is rather a comment than a question. All right. I think, ma'am, there is no question. This is so mesmerizing session that like everyone is actually they have agreed to whatever is being said. One question is there. It is being pleasure listening to all the panelists. My question is for Miss Priya. Priya, finally you have got a question.
Okay.
Ma'am, working in the financial industry is never easy. Being resilient is extremely important. How do we keep our spirit high when there is instability in the external environment? I'm an aspiring finance professional.
Yeah, I think it's very rightly said that you need to have resilience, and because it's so much changing and it's very dynamic. So I think if you are, the question is how to keep that stability. So that's within yourself, right? You need to find out what you are good at, keep developing your skills, work towards it, both financial skills as well as ensuring that you are at a peace of mind, because generally all bankers are very anxious, right? People working in the financial markets are really, really anxious because share prices are going up, things are going up. There are a lot of things happening at the same time.
It's with everyone, Priya. I mean, you may
I
feel
know.
outside, but I think
know.
everyone from
We just
every
try
sector
to.
may be thinking the same.
Yeah. And I think it's because we have taken a lot on ourselves, and there's a lot, we think we can do everything. Let's bring it on, and there's no stopping. So it's important
Absolutely.
to have a pause, reflect, and also learn from it. Because in today's fast world, we're just finishing things. We're not realizing what we are doing, what value add does it do. Is this stuff what we are doing? Can we improve it? Can we reduce the time? Maybe if we're spending 4 hours on it, can we do it in half an hour and spend like a week and stop doing that task? So it's very, very important to help and reflect back and take a pause as well. Very important to say no as well whenever it's not needed. So those are the two things I'll still say, that you need to know what you are doing, reflect back, try to automate, save time, think outside the box is very, very important. Not necessarily if someone is telling you, you don't have to believe it. You need to think. That's very important, I think.
Very good. Thank you so very much, Priya. Now, if you permit, though I am the co-moderator, but I have all the rights to ask a question with your permission, Dr. Tandon. May I? So everyone is speaking about EQ, everyone is speaking about IQ. To me, there is one term called SQ also. I'm sure all of you must be familiar with.
Sanjeev, I knew that you will come on SQ.
Thank you so very much, ma'am.
Yes.
So, Tanmeet, in fact, your answers were more for SQ only. So, how you will relate SQ and EQ and IQ? Everyone has spoken about EQ more than IQ, but I am now asking about SQ. So, what's your comment upon SQ? How do you relate SQ with EQ and IQ? Or if you want to be more mathematical, you can use the terms more than or less than also.
So could you give me a little bit hint on SQ? Sorry.
Spirituality quotient. Tanmeet, actually, whatever you have spoken about, this is basically more on this part only.
Right. Yeah, I think so. It's very important to keep your brain clean of this negative noise around you, right? If you are hearing too much negative noise, even if you want to keep yourself positive, your mind will automatically go towards that. You will not even know when your tone start becoming irritating and more anger. You will not be able to behave appropriately in the organization as well as with your family. Right. So in this point of time, I think so. First of all, the person has to understand right? That whether they are getting into that mode. So in such scenario, it is always important to have a buddy at your home, which can actually give you a feedback that you are getting towards in that particular mode. So once you understand from that person that you are actually getting into it, then you need to correct that. Some of the ways to correct with which Priya said, that doing yoga, right? Doing breathing exercise, right? Listening to the chantings, right? How you can keep your mind relaxed, right? From your, how you can take time out of the digital media, or even from your mobile phone or computer. One example I can give you, right? So most of the organization has this vacation time, right? Which generally we take when we have to go out, go to a good place to spend time with your family. But in this time, when this lockdown, you cannot take flights, you cannot go out of the country. So in that time, people are about taking vacation. So vacation, you have to also educate people that what is exactly the meaning of vacation. It's not going out, it is also taking time out. So you need to utilize those vacation by staying away from those computers, from those emails, from those calls, conference calls. Just be with you. So these are things, some things which is very, very important these days.
Thank you so very much, Tanmeet. In fact, you have said two very beautiful things. One thing which you have mentioned is that it actually flows from the top. So if you are not in the right kind of mental state, if you are not behaving properly, if you're not in, you are not working positively, and then definitely it will go down below also. And the second most important thing which you have actually said, which is actually the right way of thinking, is when the things are beyond you. You said when the things are beyond you, when certain things are there where you can't do anything, then there is no point thinking beyond. This
Right.
is actually absolutely wonderful. I fully agree to you. Madhav, you actually endorsed the pure karmic theory where you said that we are having a family at home and we are having a family at workplace. So this is basically very important for us to take care of both the families, but at times we have to prioritize, and at times we prioritize our family at work more. And that is basically the reflection of your mood and everything at your home. At people at home also. My personal question to you, this is actually, I do not know, but don't mind. Uh, uh, the way you are thinking, are you in a position to really convince your family members? Do they really understand what you have just said? This is basically for everyone. We have a role model here, our vice chancellor. So she's again she's again endorsing all these things. She's a true example of karmic theory. And I'm very sure when once you are in the leading role, once you are a leader, then you have to definitely sacrifice a lot of things. And the most easiest thing to sacrifice is something which is your own personal. So we all sacrifice at our personal level. So is it really easy to convince the people at workplace or people at home? Very different kind of question it is, Madhav, for you.
So I'll start by saying, for the last 6 months, I have had lunches with every day lunch with my wife, which I never did before, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are for the last 6 months, and that we never had lunch together, and I think so with that, what I'm trying to say is that there is a positive light in a lot of this. Like I drop my son to the daycare now, which I was not able to do. So there are many other aspects of life that sort of intertwine now. And I think the more we communicate with each other also about more actively about what's going on at work and how we feel in general about the day, I think that helps. So I think in that sense, for me, I'm feeling much more rewarded with the family time I've gotten. But I'm also being able to do more work because I don't have to travel that much. So, and so I think, I don't know if that answers your question, but
no,
there is a balance somehow, right?
Actually, it was not a question. It was a question from me to all of us only, which includes me. So, right. Priya, there is some, many congratulations, Priya. Too much nostalgic to see you after a long time. Really proud of you. Best wishes, Pratima Chaudhary, madam. So one of your ma'am, Pratima Chaudhary, has given her wishes to you. Dr. Abhinav Srivastava asked a question: how do we incorporate and encourage EI on the grassroots level in an educational organization like us? This is question for Mr. Lalit or Ms. Priya. How do we incorporate and encourage EI? Lalit, would you like to answer this?
Yeah, maybe I will ask Priya to start as my senior.
So how do we
Okay,
incorporate and encourage EI on the grassroots level in educational organization like us? This is a question from a teacher, faculty.
I think if we really see how we can execute it, at least like how I did in all my professional life so far, is it's maybe a more a mentor system where we have a little bit more or the mentor is really a bit more responsible for a group of students, where it's a bit more closely connected, and this way maybe we can really bring the empathy and this emotional flow in the organization, like of Amity.
All right. Would you like to add something to it, Priya?
So,
Yeah,
Dr. Bansal, shall I add something to it?
Yes, Mr. Madhav. Yes, please.
Yeah, so
Tanmeet,
yeah,
yes,
Tanmeet here, right? I feel so that there are several activities in the university level, right? There are cultural events, there are sports events, right? Where there's a lot of team activities happens. So when there is a team activity happening, so definitely there are people which are interacting, right? Wherever there will be emotions, because there will be challenges coming up among the team members because of the timing pressures, because of the achievements they want to deliver. So during that time, if there is a feedback session, right, among the team after these events are over or within the events, that will actually help people to understand where they have been reacting not appropriately or they have been acting appropriately. So that would actually educate them the real life scenarios, because most of the time when we are in the organization, we are working with the team, we are working with people, right? And if such things are inculcated in these people, right, during the various activities they do in the colleges or universities, it will help them to naturalize that process during the organization.
Thanks, Tanmeet. Madhav, would you like to add something to it? Mr. Madhav?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I think the very first thing, which is a step we are taking now, is to start talking about it, right? I think it starts here, in the sense that if you don't talk about it, it never comes to your radar anyways. So I think there should be more talks around this topic in the university, whether that's formally organized or otherwise. I think that's one thing. And in that sense, it's a good step that we are taking already now. I think the other part, which I think is a very sort of tactical action, but it can be done, is for students and also staff that the university sort of makes available more personality tests. You know, a lot of us have sort of personality sort of archetypes which we don't know of till very late. But if you know about them, then you can actually capitalize on a lot of your strengths in that direction, but also know what your blind spots are. And if you're so no, it gives you a sense of self-awareness, and then you can also have better control of your emotions in certain situations. So those would be some suggestions.
Thank you so very much, Madhav. So Priya, before I request Honorable Vice Chancellor for her concluding remarks, something from you. You have just seen people recognizing you, saying hello to you. So anything for any message for your fellow colleagues, teachers, students?
Yeah. I'm very thankful to Balwinder ma'am and everyone on the panelists team, teachers. I always respect them, and I've always been in touch with Sanjeev sir thanks to technology. So I'm really happy to be here. Definitely on the other side, it feels different when I was studying there. So I'm really happy, and thank you all for all the love. And I'm sure we'll see each other more. And this is a great initiative, I would say. And again, this would help EQ as well on students, right? When they see what people are doing who've passed out from the college, and we have such a diverse area we all belong to, so it can create a great opportunity to learn and diversify in different areas. So yeah, that's really good. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Priya, and I assure you that it's a new beginning, and it will never going to be over. We will definitely continue with it and always stay connected. Ma'am, Honorable Vice Chancellor, ma'am. So, for your request for your concluding remarks before I say finally formal vote of thanks to them.
This has been a wonderful session by our distinguished alumni. Yes, it was wonderful listening to Tanmeet, Priya, Manav, and Lalit, everyone that I'm so happy to see how they have shaped up and how today they are taking the leadership role and managing the teams, managing the organization and businesses. And so I'm sure all the audience, especially the students who are listening to, that's where you will reach if you work hard, if you remain flexible, and if you adapt to the new situations and see things around you. Sometimes you have to sacrifice. Without sacrifice, nothing comes. And these alumni who have reached at this level, they have not reached without sacrifice and not reached without the hard work. So hard work is very important. Flexibility is very important. Adaptability is very important, and innovation and creativity. And above all is the learning and being the emotionally very strong, because if you're not emotionally strong, if you break down, you cannot manage your team. So whether you say the emotionally strong or be hard, that's very, very important. I would like to thank each of my alumni, right from Tanmeet to Lalit to Priya and Manav, for sparing our time, and that on Saturday. I know you people are very hard pressed being at the leadership role, but coming back to Amity and sharing your experiences, your strategy with your, the alma mater is a great, and look forward having you again with Amity, and we'll look forward your feedback also how we can enhance the connect between Amity and alumni. So with this, I wish you a very happy, career, and the happy time with the family, but at the same time contributing to your organization's growth. So we look forward more achievement from your end. So please be connected. Wish you all the best. Over to Sanjeev. You unmute yourself.
I am unmuted, ma'am.
Hmm.
Am I audible, ma'am? Now?
Yes.
Yeah. So, my esteemed panelists, please permit me to call you by your first names without any order. Dear Priya, Madhav, Lalit, Tanmeet. Our honorable founder president, the man behind this Amity University, he always value one thing. This is the behavior aspect of everyone. You know, our in 101 attributes of an Amitian, he has always mentioned that, like, you may be a CEO, you may be a film star, you may be an actor, you may be a politician, you may be any position you may be, but if your behavior aspects are not good, then you are not worth mentioning. And I am so happy today after seeing you all that you all are representing the Amity's culture in a very wonderful way. All of you spoke about today EQ, IQ, but more than it, all of you emphasized upon the human requirement. All of you emphasized upon the requirement of emotional quotient. All of you spoke about the requirement of a leader. All of you spoke about sacrifice of a leader. All of you spoke about how leaders should work, how leaders should lead, how a leader should lead as a role model. So this is so wonderful to see. And one more thing which I would like to share with you as a teacher, as a parent, we always feel very happy when our own product, our own students, where our own alumni, they are rising and they are the stars. So on behalf of Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, our founder president, Dr. Atul Chauhan, our chancellor, our honorable vice chancellor, Dr. Ravinder Shukla, all my fellow colleagues here, my co-moderator, Dr. Tandon, my colleague, Dr. Anupam Narula, Ms. Ritu, Mr. Mukandan, I thank you all. I wish you all the luck, all the best wishes for you. And I just wish that you should continue your love and affection for your alma mater continuously. Thank you so very much. God bless you all.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.